Hello explorers and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. And first off, I'm gonna be excusing myself for there will be a lot of audio issues with this video. First off, I'm not sure if you can hear it now, but it's raining cats and dogs outside. So there might be some sound of that in the background. And this video that I'm gonna create here is of a live stream that I did, and I sadly did mute the mic the first 20 minutes or so, and I'm gonna try to give you an explanation for what I'm doing for these 20 minutes. And if that wasn't enough, I recorded this live stream on one of the hottest day during the summer, and on that day I couldn't spend 2.5 hours here in my office without the air conditioning on. So that's another audio issue. I'm trying to remove some of that noise, but it's not perfect. You might hear some audio issues there as well. So that's everything about the audio. Let's get into the video. This video is about creating an element, a web component element, and I needed an input. So I create a web component input box that I will use on my site. And I wanted to use the styling of material design, but the current material design styling didn't really fit into my site. I couldn't get it to actually scale the right way. There was a lot of divs in it. It wasn't accessible. It was a lot of code and a lot of extra things that I had to depend on. And I didn't really like that, so I wanted to take a stab at creating my own. So let's get into the video here. You will see I have hidden my face a bit so you won't get distracted by lips moving on a character that has no sound. So let's start the video here, and you can see here that I'm creating a new project. So I'm going into GitHub, I'm going to create a new project, I'm going to call it VC Input, and it's a very simple way to create new projects on GitHub, and I'm going to give it some small description here. I'm going to create a web component input designed around the material styling. So I'm doing a lot of typing mistakes here, and I wanted actually to show off everything that goes into the production of an element, so you get the full process of creating stuff. So here I'm looking for some good ignore template to use. I think I didn't find anything that passes for the web, so I just created one for Node, because I might do some NPN imports. I'm using MIT license. It's a very simple license. It's only saying that you can do whatever you like with this code as long as you contribute back to me, or that as long as you acknowledge that I wrote the original. So you need to keep the license agreement in there if you want to use this license. Then I go here and I go into my GitHub folder, and I will set up this project I have here. So I clone the repository into my current directory that I'm working on. I could have used Git init and then connect them up, but that's a lot of more work. So here I'm initializing a polymer element, and when you initialize it, you will get a lot of things installed on your machine. So you will get the package JSON with all the things needed to create a new element. And here I'm running the npm install in order to install all the packages that comes with a new element. I'm going to use web components with Polymer, and probably later on I will also use lit HTML, which is a very nice little library that was built by a Googler. I can't remember his name now, but it's very nice because it's actually creating an element and sets into different fields, creates places where you can actually put in data, and then does data binding without actually having a large reset of the DOM every time. You just change small bits where the DOM has changed. So here I will open up a browser with the components URL so we can see the web component created here. So this is the basic input demo, and here we can see the demo of this current element. It just says VC input. So this is what you get if you just create a new web component input. And it's very nice that you have a demo page so you can build off that demo and use it in your design of your new element and see that everything in the element actually works, that you have gotten all of your styling and so up. And I will create two here because I want to have the material design one separate, and I want them to be between each other so I can see this looks like this up here, and then I want to copy some of the styling to my element and see that it works in a similar way like the material design one. So this is going to be an interesting challenge to actually copy some of the styling and also make it flexible so you can use it in a lot of different projects. So here we go in and see what I have actually imported here. So I have the MVC base, MVC icon, text field, and this is all needed to actually run this Polymer material design element. So this is another project that I will copy some of the things from. So here we see that I put a lot of them into the dev dependencies, and the reason I put them into the dev dependencies is because I don't need these when I actually run it, because I will probably remove them later on, because I'm not really needing them in production. I only need them now when I'm trying out this little styling here. So I think I will copy even more code from the other project. So here I will remove this, and I need to npm install so I get all those bits that I've now put into my project here. And I'm also gonna copy over some of the parts that I need to run this. So I needed a text field, so I copy over some of the files from that, and I will copy and paste the needed things for actually importing this. And I realized that I need to put those into the into style tags in order to import them here, or I could actually import them into my actual element. So here we have my VC input. So I create a new element, and this is gonna be the one that I will copy the styling from. So I will call this material design VC input, and I will also give it a little bit of another description here. So this is the material design input to build. What can I say? Build from. Interesting. Very important stuff here. Well, this is what goes into the actual build process, that you need to look at the things that you might need in your project, and then sometimes you copy paste code, and sometimes you copy and paste some styling. So here I'm just emptying this out, so I will get full. I saw that I did a little bit wrong there. I didn't remember to actually change the name of the export there. I think I will come back to that later on. But this is a video where you will see all the things I do wrong as well, not only the things I do right. So that's important. So here we see that we will import lit element, and we will use this text field label here. And we see also that I use the polymer element. So instead of using the lit element, I will copy in a text field here called and I also need to look at the text field from the right directory. Let's see here. And yeah, the node directory is directly under this directory, so it's not where you think it is. You usually put your code inside of source, but when you build a component, you don't do that. So I change this up here, and I also import my new element, this material design VC input. See here if I'm done, perhaps. Yeah, I'm gonna try it out, and this will fail because it didn't have the right naming, and I haven't started the server either. So let's start the server up, and it's up and running, and then I will try it again. And I realize that it doesn't work. I don't get anything. So I will go back to the code, and hopefully I will find this issue that we realized when we were looking at it now, and just remembering what I actually did at the time. So let's see if I can figure this out from the error message. The error message is a bit convoluted. It doesn't really talk about the problem at hand, but you usually get these kind of strange error messages when you have done something so wrong that you actually miss it altogether. So let's see here. It's not defined. Now that's a better error message. So the first error message was that I hadn't imported the right stuff, and it wasn't defined. So now it's actually exported, so now it is defined. But I still think there is a problem with the naming of the component. I believe it wasn't text field. So I looked in here and see, oh, it's actually MVC text field. So I had named it wrong in my template here. So I copy paste from my other template. I give it a new label so I will see it correctly. And I think this should work. So this is, yeah, there we get this MVC input. So this is the design I wanted to copy. And as you see here, it's not 100%. It actually don't fill up the space that it's allotted to it. And but it has a nice ripple effect on the line under. and it also have the label moving up and so on. So I wanted to copy some of the styling of this element, but I didn't want actually to have that restriction that I couldn't fit it over the screen. So I wanted to be full width. So I'm gonna start with my new element here. So this is the one that is actually the new element. So I start off by creating a div that will be my container around my input, and this is to put some of the ripple effect and actually contain the label and the input inside of. See here, I wanted to have some properties, so I just went back and changed this up because it's easier to just start over and use the code that was already there instead of actually writing it and maybe getting it wrong, because I knew that that was the correct way to create a new element. So let's create an element here. We will put the placeholder as a label, and it's just an input inside of a div. So that's a very simple first try, just to see that I get an input. So we run over, and yeah, I get an input. I didn't see any placeholder here, so that's because I hadn't actually added a placeholder to the demo snippet. So I go over here and type in a placeholder text, just so I get something that I can work with. So now you see that I have an input with a placeholder. So that's the first step, that I actually have something working here, and I add the area label directly to this element, so the input will have something that will be read when the screen reader actually goes on the field. It will read this area label. You can also have it working like the label has a for element to the input box, so they are connected, and then it will read the label text instead. So here I remove the border around the input box because I will not use that border. I will create my own border, just because things will move around in the space where you type. And when you have things moving around in this space, I want to have a container around it, and want the inputs to be hidden inside of this larger element. And so then I give this div a little bit of a class, so I can actually easily find it and style it. So we type some class here, and I decided to change the name directly because it's easier to write box. Yeah, the good thing when you're creating your own element is that you can use small simple names, because all names are local to the current file, so you don't need to have very long convoluted class names just to make them unique, because they have their own little frame. And then I go to material colors to find a nice color that I can use. This is almost standard for me now to use the material color palette, because these colors will work great on the internet and look nice when you actually use them. So I usually just take some of these colors and reuse the styling of them. So let's see here. I think I didn't like that one, so I changed it up to something easier. You see there, this very simple gray, and now we see here if this looks nice. Here we have this gray, and the input box has a background, so I need to remove that so it gets transparent, so it's easy. So you don't see the actual input box there. So now that's done, and I want to remove, make it 100% width, of course, so it actually spans the full box. So now we have an input box with a nice background, and we can write stuff into it. So now we're going to give it some height, so it actually looks a little bit more like the box above. So we have the same kind of size of a box, and this is because we want this floating label to actually be there. So a lot of this is just creating a good styling around this input element. I will push it a little bit from the top, and I also want to create change the font size. It's actually the right size for this element, and so the box will be bigger, and it looks nicer when you're actually typing it. And you need to position it, or I think it's position relative or something I need, and I try to remember what I actually need to type. And these are things that might take a little bit of time to actually figure out when you're just sitting and typing things and you don't remember. So here we see that we actually have the box more correctly aligned. So the styling is actually coming along great. We still have this blue border around, and you see here that I'm showing off that the actual label is moving. So that's the next part I will add, I believe. Let's see here, we want, what do we do next? Yeah, we need the pointer, or actually cursor pointer. And that's one thing that I needed to look up, so I knew what to actually type there. Cursor text. So you actually get the text mark all over the box. So that's important, so you see where you click to actually input text. What do we do like? Then we put a little bit of a border on it. Border bottom. And I think I need to figure out how large this border should be, and also what color it should be. So I will create 1 pixel first, and it's gonna be solid. And we are gonna figure out what color we want. So I think we go back to the palette, just try some color here and see if it's enough. It seems to be a little bit too light. I just create a red border, so I see that I actually have a solid line there. So if you have a hard time seeing something when you are designing, make it very obvious, and then you know it's actually there. AAA seems to be a lot better choice. It's quite good, and you can actually see it. Make it even darker, so it's even more pronounced. And I think I'm soon gonna figure out that I actually don't have any sound, and then the actual live stream will take over, and I will use the sound from the live stream. So let's see here, we are looking for a CSS, how to remove the highlight from the input box, so outline width. And if you are removing an outline width of an input box, it's very important to put that feature back in some way, because it's impossible to actually see that you are in an input box if you don't have the outline. So that's a feature that you want to have there, but you might want to style it a different way. I add some extra padding so the box will look a bit nicer. And then we want to create this pronounced effect with the label moving. But we have, when it comes to styling, we have come a bit on the way here. So what are we gonna try next here? Yeah, we're gonna add the label here. See what kind of label we want. I'm gonna use the label text, of course, to put it in there so it actually shows. See if we get the label. Yay, VC input. There's the label. Now we need to position that right and make this little animation happening. So that's what we're gonna do next. That's not good. Hello, welcome. So this have been a very silent stream. Hear me now? I don't have any makeup, no. Hello and welcome to this very silent stream. I'm trying to make an input, and in the style of this material design input, but I want to make my own because this doesn't actually go the full length of the screen, so you can't actually use it like this and have a box at the same time. And I also want to see if I can do it myself and just go through the process of designing one of these so I can use them in my own project. And I hope you want to follow along and look at how I'm actually failing miserably with this, or perhaps get something that works pretty good. And if you have any questions, then please ask. Maybe use Flexbox. Maybe I can use that. What area do you think I should use Flexbox with? I guess that you mean the display flex and then move things around for positioning in elements, yeah. But at the moment it's just paddings and moving around stuff. And I thought that this input here should be some kind of a transition. So I'm not sure if you need to use flexing. I've used Flexbox for positioning things like tables and stuff like that, but I haven't used it for moving inputs around. Could be a good way of doing it. So let's see here. We have this 1616. It's actually just the last 16 that I want, and because it's just the left 16 that I actually need, and then I want some padding on top there, yeah. Perhaps even more. Let's do 5 pixels. So it's not at the top there. And we also want some padding on this. See how much we need. 3 perhaps. No, margin top. That's what I want. Oh, it's not that tight. So now we want to make a transition for this one so it will be centered in this large mass here. So let's see how we do that. CSS, transitions. Oh, and this is what we want to transition and when we wanted it to transition. We want to transition on focus. And don't believe this is the best page for this. MSM is pretty much go-to place. For the initial state, the final state. Whee! Ease linear, yeah. There's very good examples on this here. So here we have the font size. That's something that we want to transition, and we want this label to be just use the label as a part that we want to no, or can we use the label? So this gonna be a CSS. Because I want to make this trigger on input focus. So when we focus, or when we focus the div, so the box focus, so when it's focused, the label in the box will have some function. So why do you think that's a bad idea? Do not use empty rule sets. No, that's true. We want to have something here. And here we actually want to not focus. And then we want the label. Position absolute and font size 36 points. Let's see what that does. It's very large. That's too much. So let's back it down a bit. I think we should back it down even more. So let's go with 20 pixel points. Too large still, 16. There we go. And we also want it to have a top value, position. Can we do relative? Can top 10 pixels. Then we move the input box. And the focus doesn't work either. But this is where pretty much where we want it and how large we want it. CSS element not focus. Blur pseudo class. Input not focus. Bottom not focus. And I wonder if a box can have focus, but we should be able to say that when the input has focus, and then the label is at the same level as input. How do you show that? CSS siblings, JSON sibling combinator plus. So could that work? Because now it should not have focus, right? So the plus should work, not focus is not working. I wonder if we put the label underneath if that is working. Yeah, that works. So it might just been that we didn't reload the page. No, it actually needs to be. Maybe we can do it the other way around then. Label plus like that. Strange. We need to put it after, and then we need to do some interesting styling here because top needs to be So where's the input box now? There it was. Interesting. See here. So I think we need to first off have this position relative as well. We don't have the problem of actually top 16. There we go. We actually put that there. Label. Where should we put label? It should have a top value of -50. See where it actually ends up when we. It should still have position relative, right? There we go. So -50 was a bit much. 36 perhaps. There. Still too much. This is the magic number 20 again. I wonder how that should be too much. Perhaps 26. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So now we move this down a bit. And also want CSS parent. How do we parent selector? Let's see here, border, bottom, pixel, solid, and then we want this bluish color that we looked at earlier. Let's copy one of those. So that should be what we want when it's in focus. That didn't work at all. Just to check, if we just say that we want this to have this bluish color, let's give it 3 pixels, so it's very, yeah, that's the bluish color. They had the purple, but we wanted bluish. So it's not applying that at the moment. But I think we got, yeah, we got this nice highlighting. Maybe we should go purple as well, because that was really nice color. So I think this font color should be set as well on this label. Text color? No. Color! Yes. Nope. So that's when it's not in focus, but we wanted to have it when it's in focus. That's just a blackish color when not in focus. Perhaps we should have font weight bold, perhaps. No, that didn't look good. Silver stripe, not silver point. Print. Silver stripe. That's an inside joke of me and Alex. Okay. Inside joke. I will look up that Stack Overflow question then. So, yes. So now we have that going for us, but we haven't still solved the parent selector issue. There is no parent selector in CSS. So someone... well, that solves that issue, right? So... I wonder then if we can I wonder if we want the ripple detail or not. If we just want it to be and this transition that we have here is very fast. It's a little bit more smooth there. So we might want to change these, set some, so this is after, so we put it here, I guess. It's 4 seconds, that's a long time. That didn't work at all. If we remove this property, we might have a better luck with it. No. Font size and top. Could that be it that we wanted? So here we have a transition where they say a lot of stuff and then what they want to change and how long it should take. So let's go with that then and say font size, top, and color, perhaps. That's what we're transforming, right? Might work better. Jesus, that's so slow. But it actually works. So let's go to 0.3. So it's notable, but not. So the top need to be faster. Ah, so this is what in what. This is some kind of no. So could we let's try a curve. Isn't this a very weird behavior? So let's go for this one then. I think there is a tool in Chrome as well for Bezier curves. Do you still say number of seconds for this? You do. Ah. I think mine is a little bit more funny. It's not really sure how to do it. It's like, oh, let me go there, let me go there. I'm still there, come in, come in. I'm going, okay? So now it's not that obvious. Just that the input is so fast as well. Yeah, let's see here. So I guess that we want to change the box border dependent on the focus. So now we need a listener. See here, component on mount, web components React, not what I wanted. It's interesting that React is actually popping up like, oh, me. Open, disable, constructor. They actually use the constructor to add event listeners. So, okay, let's do that then. Listener to this. Click. Focus. This. Add event listener. Blur. Let's see. We can do it like this. Console log. Focus. And blur. So let's see here. So did we get anything in the console? Yeah, we got focus and blur. That's good. So then we want this input up here to have focus. So document, query, selector, input, focus, true. Or is there a set focus perhaps? Request focus. Focus. Set focus on element JavaScript. It's just a function. Yes. Function. So is there a blur? Yes, there's a blur too. Blur. So now we don't need to hit it directly on the input. Blur of null. Okay. Doesn't like the query selector input. So let's. Don't like to use the ID. Use class instead. Yeah, I could do that. It's a little bit sad just to have an input class. That's not a nice when you want a specific one, but okay. Still not. This shadow roots. Do we have one of those? We do. Now we're talking. Query selector. Inputs. Input! Yay! We found our input! Focus! There we go. Is not a function. Okay, so can I set it to true? Is that possible? But it doesn't look like it's... Wait a minute. I've had the chance to have fun with RCNNs, yes. I've done a series on RNNs on this channel, actually. If that's what you're talking about, or I think I have an outstanding question as well about how to set something up that I haven't answered because I haven't had time to look into it. And if you mean that, then no, I have not. It's still vacation and I have a lot of other engagements, sadly. So this gives us just a shadow road, but I got an interesting idea here. They are setting an attribute focus, disabled or not disabled. So maybe can use that as well. Set this attribute focus. like this. Then maybe we can attach that to our rule, because they had one here at drawer, and I guess their attribute is called drawer. Not focused. That will not give our no, I still want to find the I want to focus the input box. How hard should that be? It's not a real element. Pinocchio, how do we do it to a real element? Here, box element, so that's box. The box element should have a style and border top, no, bottom, 3 pixels, solid. What did we say? This is the string we want to put there. Then we want to go back to the old could do this with the class as well, but as we don't have that much changes we want to do. I think we're doing good. It's not that bad. Now we only need it to trigger on the full full box, and we need some rounded corner on our box as well. CSS rounded corner on one side. Top right radius button. Top right, top left is what we want. Let's start with that. And left radius. Let's see how that does. Woo! That was too much. Yeah. That's pretty much. Let's give it 5. Just a little bit. Then we need a little bit of a darker background on the box as well. So I think we actually need the box to have box selected, box selected. See here, we had our material colors. Let's give it a deep bluish gray. And the border down here. Border bottom. And then we can actually say that we want to do some transitions, and that's on the box. And there should be on background color and on border bottom. So that's the transitions that we want to do. And we want to add this class. Box element add class. So this is a class list feature, add and remove. Add class to element JavaScript. It's a class list thing. Class list. Schools, isn't there any better ones? Class list. So class list is a nice feature where you can just add and remove things using classes in CSS has been really boring before you can actually add them like this. It's not supported by all browsers yet, I believe. Add class name equals that. Like to it's just not as nice in my opinion, but in this case it actually works, I believe. No. Why not? Gets both classes. Do we need to put the transition problem? There we go. Maybe that was a little bit too blue. Let's go down to 200. Let's see how that fares. A little bit softer. I think it's still too much. 100 perhaps. Oh, that looks nice. We're pretty much there now, I believe. We have an input box that is pretty nicely designed. So, what's left? We have this really strange and irritating focus bug that we can't actually click on the full box, as you can do with this one, wherever you click. Maybe we should be a little bit sneaky and see how did they do this. I think we shouldn't use this timeout, we should use the ready command instead. That's more reliable and a little bit more reasonable. It's actually used for this. So then everything except this focus function works. As we have a lit element, it has properties, it has a render function, and define stuff. We don't have the properties. Yo, we have the properties. What doesn't we have? We might not have a ready function. So let's try it. Render, and we don't want mood, we want label. Okay, and we need to change these to label as well. Request focus is still not working, but then we should be able to use _root instead for the query selector, and then focus should work. Could that be true? Lit element is amazing. Oh. Why do you use polymer element when you can use a lit element? Custom polymer element, no, not at all. So this is the full code. I don't think we have missed anything. They are pretty similar. Mine is by my own design. And this was what I wanted to actually accomplish today. Hope that you found this video or this stream interesting. I hope that you learned something today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And I really hope to see you in the next video.